morning everybody and welcome back to another video where today I'm showing you a little secret project. This is, as some of you might be able to guess, a under construction, half finished, abandoned version of a LEGO Clocktown build from Majora's Mask. Now some of you eagle-eyed people may have noticed that a couple of custom sets over the years have indeed not been finished, unlike how you might expect. And this is one of them. This is Z0050, the big landmark halfway to 100 custom that sadly didn't make it, along of course with Z003 and a rare amount of few others. And while we're now moving into, of course, Tears of the Kingdom's wave, and then of course continuing with wave 4, this crossed my mind again as something that I didn't want to let become a relic. Now, well, obviously the Water Temple is the 1000 sub goal to resurrect that set, and I personally have no huge desperation to bring this one back. I was thinking about this custom the other day and what went wrong, and I thought it might be an interesting story to tell. So here we are, taking a look at the Clocktown Town Square in what would have been a master builder style, similar to Mos Eisley Cantina and the Cloud City sets from Star Wars. It's supposed to be the whole of Clocktown. And now this idea is flawed. As you can tell, we've got 732 parts in here, and what? One half of a street of a quarter of Clocktown, not to mention other areas like the laundry pool and the interior underneath the clock tower, which haven't even been built and aren't taking up spaces. Now this idea was catalyzed for a couple of different reasons. One, I like doing my own Zelda twist on existing LEGO sub-themes, and Master Builder series is one of them, and there aren't many more packed and stacked and still compact locations across the series which I think would work as well as Clocktown for a Master Builder series set. Not only that, it would give me an opportunity to bring 20 or so of the more iconic side characters to life and giving them a chance to shine in the custom set showcase, where it just wouldn't be possible normally due to, well, just how like their appearances are limited, right? This is where they live, therefore why would they appear anywhere else? And so this was an opportunity to just build an amazing clock town, something that hasn't really been done in this kind of scale, but also to get an icon such as this small clock tower, which again, without doing it as a set on its own, would not have a chance to appear, and get this into a set as well, and that was a big part of it. So this was where this model started, and as you can see here, it began with this clock face, which is something at a little bit of a different scale here to some of the other models you may have seen. And one of the other big things for this though was of course the function for the clock tower, but I'll come back to that in a second. Thinking of this as overall, there's a couple of reasons this never continued, and I feel like I should address why it failed first. Is one, just the size. It's just too big for me Master Builder set. Two, the detail and interiors, the compromise, I was very unsatisfied. In fact, if we take a look inside this room here, this is the lottery house. This was my initial attempt, at least, at the lottery building. As you can see, it's on a turntable so that it can spin. It's not going to spin for me. I believe if I do... Oh, the whole room is moving. That's great. But the whole point is that the thing here can spin to reveal the reward for when you're done, like the come back tomorrow to reveal the lottery, ha ha ha, and so on. And the idea was that was like an intriguing addition, and of course it's rife with collision errors and other problems and so on. It looks just like a hot mess as well, so I wasn't thrilled by what I was able to achieve with interiors. One thing I was thrilled by though, and one thing I wouldn't want to give up, is the ability to create a curved wall and curved staircase. West Clocktown here is looking great with this slow increasing pathway, admittedly missing the flower beds and obviously a lot of the walls and shops. That was another reason this thing got cancelled, way too narrow, not really accessible like a normal Master Builder set. And then of course you have the trading post here as well, which had just started construction, where you've got the stalls in the back, happy with those, as well as the little jetty, and then of course the scarecrow as well. Another big problem with this set is there's a lot of empty space. Even using these panelled walls, that's still about 10 parts just to create what is essentially a wall that would have nothing up against it apart from some tents. And there's also just a whole lot of empty, unstructurally supported base plates here in the town square and other areas. So how would I fix it? Well, I don't know, and that's exactly why this project got halted. And don't worry, it will eventually be solved. One day I want to have this complete, just not a priority at this very second. But no, there's a couple of ways of going about it. One way you could say is just to do the clock tower and the surrounding areas around that specifically, and then just include the 20 figures outside of their locations. But to me, that's not what makes Clocktown iconic. It is the businesses and so on. Another way would be to do disconnected, where it's less about these pathway areas and more about just clipping various buildings together. So say have this specific segment with the water features and upper balustrades connected together, then a string of small huts which connect back and curve around with all the different businesses. Yeah, it may look more ugly, but they'd be in the Clocktown style, they'd be fully enclosed, and while you wouldn't have amazing streets like this, or maybe you could if you played it smart enough and were clever, but you would have more of a flat display, more of the buildings and more of those lovely interiors that Master Builder sets obviously have to balance. I wanted all the authentic details to be here, and to be honest, I just think that the scope of Clocktown is too big. Clocktown deserves more of a large-scale mock and not something so much in the custom set showcase. However, I'm still going to try. And that is a theme you will see replicated in another set we'll be taking a look at in just a couple of weeks, or maybe you've already seen. A couple other things that I want to point out here, of course, as well as the feature, is that yeah, I'm really excited to have the chance to draw all of these characters. Right, we're talking stuff like the mayor, the dancing twins, the Deku Scrub, and so on. So many memorable moments. Obviously, not including Andrew and Cafe because they've already been made in the series. It's the other stuff that would have been really, really fun to do. Which is why I'm sad that this never came to fruition. But hopefully, by taking a small look around, you can see why. Here's another interesting technique, and that is this interesting curved wall which is built on hinges, as you can see across this gap, and that allows you to curve this wall here and just adds a nice curved effect with this joint between the tiled red brickwork at the bottom and then the tan walls of the major street. It'd be really interesting to see how that sort of continued on. Originally, a lot of rooms have been planned to be detachable to make the interiors more accessible. No idea how I would have accomplished that. As you can see, this was still, well, heavily into the development, but still very early on in the planning stage. Over here, we have a pair of opening doors to, well, the back room, the most iconic part, of course. You've met with a terrible fate is just behind these doors, or that's where that scene would have been. I was even planning on including these, like the weird tunnel that you come through with all of the images as some stickers at the edge of the model to fill up some of this empty underground space. However, the big catalyst and the reason I decided to make this in the first place is actually over here on the clock tower, and that is because there is a feature here. You may notice this rod-like assembly here. Well, you would be able to, as you can see by this, pull it out to drop down the doors here, and this would mean that you'd be able to, well, not actually, but sort of reach the steps that go up to, well, nowhere, but to the top of the clock tower. Well, but there's no platform up there, so isn't that a little mysterious? Well, I would say that, but there's actually a solution. This model here is designed to flip. And obviously this would have the bell on the other end, but it's been designed with enough clearance that you should be able to turn it 90 degrees, it still look good from most angles, and then have the platform at the top to recreate the MIDI scale version of the Skull Kid fight. Of course, one of the other frustrating parts about this model was that Wave 3 was designed to tie very well into this set. Both Andrew and Cafe appeared in the minifigure series, so to complete your Clocktown cast, you would have to go out and buy that. And if you bought this set on release day, that would have been the availability for the promo Tattle and Tail, who also appeared in this wave, and that would have given you a Skull Kid figure from before Majora's Mask, and then of course, as well as that, just giant displayable versions of the fairy to put next to this. So, what's the future for this half-finished, not quite realised custom? Well, to me, I want it to take on a different form. This was an interesting attempt at making this into a Master Builder scale, but it just didn't work out at this scale. So I think it's time to go back to a drawing board, take the fantastic clock tower, which I really, really love and I'm really, really pleased with at this scale. While it's not the most impressive, I do think it stands out really nicely. And then turn the other buildings into something just as special to create maybe not the most accurate Clocktown display, but more of a Master Builder series hybrid, like we'd expect from Mos Eisley or Bespin. Bespin's not the nicest to look at, but it has all of the important details. Chance to draw those minifigures and actually give Wave 3 the D2C it deserves. I really hate forgetting D2Cs like this. I think it's really sad that this idea never got to sort of embellish the other Wave 3 sets, and maybe that would change people's minds on Wave 3, because I know for a fact it probably would mine. Wave 3 is definitely not my favourite of all of them. So I wonder how things would have been different if I had managed to find a way. And we will in the future. This one is going to be coming much sooner than you might think. Obviously, it's going to take a while to build and draw, but it is currently in my project pool, which is more than I can say for a lot of the other half-cancelled sets. So hopefully one day, maybe not soon, but at one point, we'll get to see this model reach its fruition. But in the meantime, some of the elements like this clock tower here were just too good to not share. So I hope you appreciate seeing that and can see the vision as well. And let me know what you think down below, of course, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye bye.